The Packers are the dumbest organization I've ever seen in my entire life for not making any moves yesterday when you have a team that is this close to winning the Super Bowl, Andrew Brandt. This damn close. They do nothing. They sit on Aaron Rodgers' greatness that'll lead them to success, but never the ultimate prize. How did you see yesterday going? And am I completely wrong for saying what I just said?
Hey, the whole Twitterati's coming at me like I still work there. I haven't been there in 10 years, but listen, I get it. You know, they haven't surrounded Aaron with the weapons that people know. It's Devontae and a bunch of guys people haven't heard of. I get it. And Will Fuller was right there for the taking. But here's my defense of the team you see with the helmet there. My defense is Will Fuller is a free agent. He's got 8 games left on a contract. So my thought is that the reason it broke down was not so much if they could figure out a second, a third, a fourth round pick. It's what about next year? Can we get a contract done? And now they're trying to negotiate a contract where the market, like a Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper market, is like $19, $20 million a year when they've got a guy on the roster named Devontae Adams making $14, $15 a year. That's not going to happen. So Will Fuller's agent's probably like, hey, you want to do a deal? I'll do a deal, but it's not going to be anything like Devontae Adams. And that's a problem. That's one reason why it couldn't get done. If I'm the Packers, I'll give up a low-round pick for an 8-game rental, but I won't give up a high pick for an 8-game rental without that contract coming out. So I'm just trying to let you know, your listeners know, why this was a tough deal to do. If they want to do some other Texans receiver, Brandon Cooks or Randall Cobb, bring him back, or Kenny Stills, yeah, no problem. But for this guy, Fuller, he's a problem.
And it's strictly because whenever you're making those trades, and by the way, I would assume it was a lot of our listeners and watchers that were coming after you because, boy, we had some venom yesterday at the Green Bay Packers, didn't we? I mean, we had some real venom in their lack of wanting to win when you have Aaron Rodgers and instead just wanting to win with your own people because that's the organization that you built because you're the general manager and have an ego.
Yeah, well said. And even if they didn't get Fuller, Andrew, like what about, I mean, they don't do anything to address the defense either, which clearly is basically the same defense last year. Like, I mean, so.
Hold on, Brandon, I have a question now for you. Whenever you're trading for
let me just
hold on. You can get to that in a second, but let's get back to your Will Fuller trade thing and then contract thing. Is that all happening during the trade talk? Is when Will Fuller and the Packers are talking, or Will Fuller's potentially going to be a Packer. How much is the agent involved in that? Is that just team conversation? At what point does the agent come in and say, oh, if he's going to go to the Packers, then we want to talk to the Packers to see if we can renegotiate a deal? And is that normal for every type of trade? I didn't know that agents even gotten involved in it unless they're trying to move their player. How's that whole thing work out?
Well, I'm speaking from a team point of view, even though I'm on the agent side now. From a team point of view, I would be doing that. I would not want to acquire Will Fuller or someone who's going to be contract up next year without knowing we have him. I use the word rental. It's a real word. You don't want to bring a guy in, especially you're not going to get this week because of COVID, so it's only going to be 7 games, and then have him leave or build him up for a big contract somewhere else. So I would, from the front office, yes, I'd be involved. The agent gets involved. It's a companion negotiation. The trade side of it and the compensation side of it. Now, you've seen general managers not do that, specifically Bill O'Brien, where they bring in Laramie Tunsil for 2 number ones, and they don't do a deal, which gave him the most extraordinary leverage ever, because once the deal's done, he's like, hey, you traded 2 ones for me. Give me the biggest contract in the history of offensive linemen, which he got. So you have to do it at the time from a team point of view. And I think that was going on with Fuller.
So there's nothing to like you said building him up for a massive contract somewhere else. There's nothing to like, you see like a lot of influencers or up and coming celebrities. They go out to Los Angeles for like a month and they rent like the most expensive Lamborghini to drive around. And it probably gets them into some places. It probably gets them in some photo shoots. If you bring in Will Fuller, this Lamborghini that you rent, and you win a game that you shouldn't win, isn't that enough to be like, oh yeah, if you want to go make money somewhere else, you can do that? Or do you think Will Fuller's people were like, we're not getting traded unless we have a long-term deal in place?
I think the Packers approached Will Fuller's people about a deal. I think Will Fuller's people are looking at it like, okay, we've got a recent market out there. We got Michael Thomas. Maybe he's not Michael Thomas, but we got Keenan Allen. We got Amari Cooper. We got all these deals. Let's do a deal. Fine. And then the Packers are like, well, wait. Devontae took less to be with Aaron. Are you not going to do that? So that's the situation. I think that's what happened. I think the Packers generally, listen, I get these questions. It's been that way for 20 years. I was part of it. So, yes, you can blame me. They're not a team that goes for quick fix free agents or trades. Never have been.
Well, yeah, but the NFL hasn't been that way for a long time. Now you got other NFC teams doing it. You got the Seattle Seahawks, who, I mean, they did build up in free agency. They had to lose people, but the NFL has become a much more let's fix this problem now, let's go win this thing type of league. I mean, the Saints are $100 million over the cap next year. That would have never happened 10, 15 years ago. The NFL used to be a sit around. The NBA would do a lot of trades. Now the NFL is getting like hot. The NFL is doing a lot of movements, which, by the way, in your agency world is good for you right now. But when it comes to the teams and you see every other NFC team get better, but your team, it's like, okay, I can understand that this is how the Packers have always been, but I feel like the NFL was always that way. And there's a little bit of a change happening, you know, like.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, Pat. I saw you say this yesterday. This is a different organization because we don't have an owner. Yeah. And, you know, here's the best thing about the Packers from working there. We didn't have an owner.
Yep.
Here's potentially the worst thing about working there. We don't have an owner.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So this was something where some owner could walk into a room in those discussions, and this happens around the league, and say, damn it, stop, we're doing this. And that could be a good thing, and that could be a bad thing. I used to talk to my buddies with other teams, and they're like, yeah, I've been working on this deal for 4 months, but my owner came in and said, get it done in an hour. And like, oh boy, that sucks. You know, you lost all your leverage. But on the other hand, you're working on something. The owner says, listen, I know it's tough, but I'm going to put in another $1 million. Let's do this right now. So I always felt we had an inferiority complex with the league because we sit around that table. I'm next to Jeff Lurie and Robert Kraft and Jerry Jones. And they're like, yeah, little Green Bay, fine. We'll pat you on your back. You go back to your little town in Wisconsin. And I'm like, okay, well, what about Goodell? You know, well, we don't have a billionaire owner to sort of apply influence. Even though we're always a good team, we've always got franchise quarterbacks. That was always a feeling we had in Green Bay.
Yeah, and you guys are going to continue that trend with Jordan Love over there.